Are you guys ready?
Are you ready?
Three girls chatting it up, you know?
Done and done.
Welcome to podcast number 2013. Wow! Okay, maybe it's not 2013, but it's number 23. But it is 2013, in case you didn't know. So happy New Year to everyone. And it's been a little bit since we've been here. This is alttabme.com. You can go to our website, check it out. We've added some cool new features for the new year. We have some really cool stuff coming up, like achievements. We've got a building community. We've got some new recruitment video stuff coming out. All sorts of shit. Go to the website, check it out, and let's get this podcast started. So we have a couple topics for this podcast, and by a couple I mean holy crap, there's a list of shit tons of stuff over here. I think the general idea here, though, is that we wanted to talk about Guild Wars 2 in a sense of how we've kind of reinvigorated our love for the game after not loving it as much. Yeah. So I have topics here. They're called the ugly, and then we have the purdy. So I guess we should maybe start off with the purdy, you know? Why don't we go in order here? Why don't we talk about the Wintersday event? Because we didn't really talk about that at all. We didn't podcast during that because we were all too busy stuffing our faces with like Christmas cookies and home-fed lasagna every day of the week until the, carbs made our brains explode. So what did you think about Wintersday, Katie? What were some of your thoughts? Good, bad, and the ugly.
I liked it. I didn't get to participate in as many of the mini game events, but so you can speak, I think, more to that. In general, though, I think it was fun. I don't have anything in particular about it.
So for all you people that were wondering what the Wintersday event had, it had it had snowball fights. It had achievements where you could build snowmen to get achievements. There was titles. There was Tix, this guy. He had a big overship, and he was coming around giving out toys to all the different cities. And you'd have to go into his dungeon and help him fix the toys because they were broken. And so it was like the toy apocalyptic thing. And so you fought the toys. Yeah, toy apocalypse. There you go. That's the word I was looking for. And so you fight the toys, and they were adorable, and then you got pieces and you could build these toys, or you could take those pieces and you could put them into the Mystic Forge, and you could get a tonic that turns you into one of these dolls, which was really cool, except I think this one over here has some problems with that.
You could do it 22 times and never get a tonic.
Yeah.
Ever.
Mm-hmm.
But if it failed, you ended up getting one of the pieces back, and you also got some one-off uses. The tonics that he's referring to transformed you into the little sort of associated mini pets. And there was I guess it's like a never expiring, everlasting version, which is what I never got for any of them.
Yeah.
I still don't love the Mystic Forge. I'm sorry. I don't like the Mystic Forge at all.
No, I don't think many people like the Mystic Forge. The Mystic Forge, we're going to totally get off Wintersday here, fuck it. But the Mystic Forge is it's this meta game within Guild Wars 2 that nobody quite understands. So you can't really metagame the Mystic Forge from within the game. You have to metagame the Mystic Forge from Google. And then from Google, you have to go to a wiki. And then from a wiki, you have to go to Guild Wars 2 database. And from a Guild Wars 2 database, you then have to go back into the game and hope that you get the drop.
I feel like it's weird that they don't incorporate that into your story at some point, or somehow tutorialize at least the fact that it exists. Because I didn't know about it until I actually started interacting with people and hearing about it. I heard the word. I didn't know actually what its function was until about 2 months into the game.
Yeah. I didn't quite get it. I thought that the Mystic Forge was there to, you could put in 4 of an item and it would upgrade it. But it doesn't always do that. There's definitely if you like to gamble, the Mystic Forge is a cool place. But the Mystic Forge So I thought it was like a gambler's thing. So I was like, okay, cool. If you want to gamble, go over there. But then I found out, because I started to get some really cool weapons and, gear out my character. And by gear out, I mean make it look cooler, because the stats don't really change. So my character had like cool stuff, and I learned that the only way to make these things was to either buy them on the auction house or the trading post, sorry, or putting the materials into the Mystic Forge, and you're guaranteed to make it. However, I still don't know how people figured out how to make these things in the first place. So I had to look it up online, and it's like put 250 ectos, put 250 orichalcum bars, and put 100 mystic coins, and then put like an eldritch scroll, and it'll make X. And I was like, how did you figure that out?
How do you? Yeah. How did you just throw things in there?
Well, not to mention throwing those things in there.
By,
That's like 120 gold of items. So that's a lot of money.
Like kind of a big deal in this game, because it's not like WoW. It's like you have 100 gold, and it's like, wow, that you just wasted a lot of your life to do that.
Yeah, the Mystic Forge is weird. Go ahead.
I think it'd be I like the Mystic Forge in terms of, I think it's a cool mechanic. I think it can be useful when it doesn't totally shack you, but in terms of surfacing what it actually does so it's accessible and so people can actually use it, I think that there's a lot to still be desired there. Because you should not be expected to go online and wiki and Google something in order to play a game. It should be there and available. And it's not even that it's somewhere and you can't necessarily find it. It just doesn't exist. There's not even an NPC next to the Mystic Forge that tells you what it does.
That's true.
Yeah, I had no idea. Like, I'm like, oh, this is a pretty thing that's in the middle of the city. Cool. And then I walked
NPC.
away.
Something helpful.
Well, so that kind of brings us into the the idea of the trading post. The trading post is there, and it's strange, I think, to a lot of players. I played Ultima Online, so I kind of understand the idea of the trading post. The idea is that you can buy mostly anything you want that exists in the game if you have the money for it. The difference between the trading post in this game and the trading post in Ultima Online, however, is in Ultima Online, you got items, you put up vendors, or you went into a social town and you announced, I have this to sell, would you like to buy it from me? And so it gave you like this social interaction. And so you were known as the person who sold the, spears of the ogre or whatever. And then, oh, cat attack. And then, and then you were also you had a vendor house that people knew about, and they would go and they would buy certain things. In this game, the problem I find is that, yes, it has that really cool aspect that you can buy anything, but it ends up removing the social aspect because you end up standing at the trading post without anybody to talk to, just kind of playing with the UI instead of playing with people. What do you guys think about the trading post?
I use it to buy stuff when I hit 80, and that was pretty much it. And then I got stuff, and I'm like, okay, I'm done. It's not like, it was kind of, I don't want to say confusing, because it wasn't that confusing once like I sat there and looked at it, but I didn't want to be bothered. There's no like search feature, which was really irritating to me. That drives me nuts, because I don't want to have to sit there and go through like 50 pages of items to find like the one thing that I need. So that bothers me a little bit, but I think they need to work with a lot of things, and that's just one of them. So
I mean, it's definitely good.
It's
definitely useful. It's useful for when you need certain mats or you need X amount of things. And since it's linked across all servers, you can always get what you want and quickly. But I definitely see, yeah.
I have mixed feelings about the fact that it's linked across servers. It's something that I found very interesting when I started playing the game, and that I haven't really come to any conclusions yet. But the price normalization that happens, I think it's interesting. I'm
like
not
that.
sure if I like it or not, because it's a little bit more difficult, I feel like, to make money if you're like farming stuff. But
see, I like it because I used to play the auction house on like WoW and stuff like that, and I would look at
Me
other
too.
servers and I would get really pissed off because I was like, God damn it, why is everything so expensive on my server and blah blah blah. And so it's nice that it normalizes out, and you can't take over the market, which is nice.
yeah,
Yeah,
I guess that
I
if you're used to doing that.
Well,
So-
I mean, because in WoW, like they'd have like the farmers and stuff, and then if people would sit there and they would just destroy the economy, and that kind of sucked. So I like that doesn't happen here.
Mwah.
But that's
Oh, well, jumping back to the usability or the UI and whatnot of the auction house, they do have a search, but their filter options are quite limited. For one, it'd be awesome if you could sort by armor type, because that makes sense to me in terms of that is a very useful subtype. Even if you break up the whole like armor drop down into like light, medium, heavy, and don't add an entirely new filter option, I feel like that would be incredibly helpful, because in searching through the tons and tons of pages of stuff, it's already hard enough because you're not really sure what stats things are, and the names aren't entirely intuitive all the time as to what kind of stats they have on them, unless you've already sort of memorized that list. And it makes it quite tedious to find things. And then you're like, oh, that's something with my stat. Oh, I know, I can use that.
You know what else? I don't know if they've updated this or changed it, and I don't think they have. But can you see what the items look like yet?
No, you can't preview anything.
No,
It's
you have to. So you have to
really
go to.
annoying.
You have to go to Guild Wars 2 database and like look up the item, and it gives you a code which you can then put in the game, and then you can preview it, and it's like.
See, again, that's annoying.
And
Like,
this is-
as soon as I have to get out of the game for anything, like I'm not excited about it, because if I'm out of the game, then I'm doing something that's not in the game. If I'm playing the game, I want to be in the game. I don't want to have to alt tab or go somewhere else or do anything else.
And even from a business perspective, you don't want people leaving the game. People can't like spend money or whatnot if they're not in the game, and it increases the likelihood of them getting distracted by something else. And
Business
so
101 by
it's-
Katie.
I concur.
So it's something that, and it's not just that issue. I think we will, and we have listed a lot of different things where you have to leave the game. And I think it's an interesting argument also for one of the things that Blizzard did with WoW, where they let you create add-ons. And I know that people, I think, have mixed feelings about whether or not they like having that ability. Personally, I'm a fan of it, and I think that it benefits not only the community, but also it can benefit like the business itself, because you let the people identify what pinch points are and solve them for you.
Business 102 with
And
Katie.
so even if they don't want to implement it, even if they don't want to implement it, at least let somebody else who decides that they want to invest the time do it, and then everyone's happy, and they don't even have to do anything after they build
and
up the
the other
system
thing-
to support it.
Like with the add-ons, and I actually don't know a whole lot about this, but I guess apparently in Secret World they have an integrated browser,
Ugh.
so maybe that's something that Guild Wars 2 view. I don't know anything about it, but it sounds
I don't know what that is.
interesting.
Such a bad
You're
game.
making an awful face.
Such a bad game. Oh.
Well, okay, the game, yes, but the game aside, because I haven't played the game, I think that the integrated browser might be a neat idea, and you need to stop just being so, I hate everything.
Cringe.
Trust it.
Okay.
That's just
Anyway.
that's just an ugly face. That's
Anyway,
Yeah, it
we
is a
are.
ugly
We're
face.
just like, shut up. It's not my face. It's my pretty face.
It
This
is.
is my pretty
That
face.
is your. I don't want to like even think about things because I don't like this one aspect of it face.
That's right, and that's how I roll. Like if I don't like an aspect of something, I'm not gonna play it. I'm not gonna do it. Nope. Although
Or
I'm
you're
really
just gonna
excited for
complain about
SimCity,
You also
SimCity
didn't listen
5.
to, like,
I'm
anything
excited.
that I said along with that.
No,
Tristan.
nothing. I don't hear you at all unless you text me at 4 in the morning and you're like, "Oh my God, are you drunk?"
Alright, so I'm gonna text you what I had to say, so then you can actually hear what I had to say instead of being like, "Oh my God, I hate this thing."
I can just dub over my voice after we're done with the podcast to like actually respond to what you're saying.
Okay.
Okay.
So I'll
Well, now we
tell
know that
later.
if you give her a response, it's fake.
He could dub over this part too, and then it'll be
I
fine.
could.
So
I could
he'll
just
be
cut this
making a
out.
funny
Boom.
face.
Puppet Master. Nothing you see is real. It's all through Tristan's filter.
Oh, dude, the world through Tristan's
Isn't that
filter
pretty
is
usual?
not a good thing. Not a good
Oh.
thing.
Anyway, so back on topic.
So yeah. So anyway, we're kind of okay. Let's not get too off topic, and let's not get too down on the game, because what we're trying to do here, which we're not doing a very good job at, is we're trying to show people why we got like this reinvigorated feeling for Guild Wars 2. And I have to say, one of the things that really brought me back into the game and got me excited was crafting my own items. I started to get really excited about like seeing all the different items that I could make once I found, like, there was a website. So once again, you have to go to a website. But anyway, there was a website that showed all the weapons and all the different armors. And so I looked through all the weapons and I was like, ooh, I want that one and that one and that one. And then I went to Guild Wars 2 database, which is another website. And I looked up what do you have to make to, what do you have to put in the Mystic Forge to make these items. I found out what the items were. I found out the best way to farm them. And that ended up putting me in the Fractals dungeon. And we're not talking like Fractals 1. We're talking like high-level Fractals. Super competitive, super fun, and a lot of loot. You get a lot of things to drop. So as that was happening, I started to understand things that I hadn't understood, such as salvage kits. Salvage kits make so much more sense to me. I get so many unique drops now because I use my Black Lion salvage kits because I gotten them from opening Black Lion chests with keys. So I use those on all my yellows 80 and up, and I get ectos, which are worth a lot, and they also help you craft things like the high-end exotic weapons. And then for my white items, like the ones that you would think just toss these, I use a master salvage kit because it's always guaranteed to drop the whatever property it's supposed to, but when you use a higher end salvage kit on it, it drops more of them. So then I understood that I only had to save whites and yellows, and then blues and greens I could just sell the crap out of. And I was like, ooh, this is fun. And then the Fractals, you can buy bags that organizes your shit by color. And I was like, yeah! So that made me happy.
Really, that's a thing?
Yeah.
I should probably log back into the game at some point.
The greens you also can put into the Mystic Forge, and if you do 4 of them, you sometimes get a rare.
Yeah,
sometimes,
but
sometimes you get another green.
the percentage of that happening is so small that it literally doesn't, you lose money more often than you gain.
I've actually made a significant amount of money off of that.
Yes, but let's think
all
about
of my Mystic Forge karma that I lost when
that's what I was gonna say.
Totally.
So you can go on a
Payday
streak on the Mystic
by-
Forge. It's like playing, that's how they get you at the casinos. They're like, oh, look, you won 3 times. Now why don't you put that money back in the machine? Oh, damn it, I lost.
Except it happened after, so it doesn't make sense.
So you lost all your
It's
money,
actually
and then,
just chance.
actually, that makes sense, yeah.
I didn't lose any money.
Well, didn't you buy some? I lost money for you, because I bought you things, jerk.
You bought me a couple. Thank you.
Anyway.
I did lose a little bit of money for that.
Yeah. But those dolls are adorable, and they're totally worth the whatever 20 billion gold I spent to buy fucking glue and cotton to make them.
I just bought, it's like with Jen's one of the mini pets because it just wasn't happening and I had no more mats.
I just wanted to be the little girl so I could...
Plush griffin, and it's adorable.
Don't quote that part
What?
ever. I'm going to cut that out, actually. I just wanted to be the little doll because I wanted to run up to people, which I have done, and it has been really fun. And I go, are you my mommy? And then multiple conversations spur from this. I even busted out my little plush griffin
that
as
was
I was the
creepy.
doll. Yeah, I know. I love it. And so I like had the little doll, and then I busted out my plush griffin pet.
Good for you to say.
It's plush griffin pet is not. It's difficult. Say it like 10 times fast. Plush griffin pet. Plush griffin pet.
It's adorable. It looks like a stuffed animal.
Yes, and so I busted that out, and I was like RPing with it, and I was like, this is Ted. You want to say hello to Ted? And they were like, hi, Ted. And I was like, Ted doesn't like you.
Ted?
I don't know. I don't know if I said Ted or like Fluffy or something. And then I was like, Ted has magic. And so he was like, oh, what's the magic? And I was like, poof. And I turned into the plush griffin pet because I had the fucking tonic for that. And he was like, wow, cool. You're a plush griffin pet too. And I'm like, woo, yeah, but I'm really a girl. Anyway, there's a lot of memes that can be taken out of this, out of context. Anywho,
Out of context?
or totally in
together.
context. But it was fun. And those were the fun things. And this is the only thing I had a problem with is that for the fun items that you can get for those Wintersday events and for any of those events, why do they make them so difficult to get them when they are meant to be fun? Like, you shouldn't have had to spend 25 missed opportunities on the Mystic Forge to try to get one of those potions. It should have been 1 or 2. You know what I mean? The percentage should have been higher.
It's a limited opportunity item.
But it doesn't matter.
It's not like I could have gone and farmed more of them. It was just like, oops, you have nothing.
Exactly. So like you can't,
because you can only get it from doing the Toypocalypse once a day, and there's a fixed amount. So there's literally this fixed amount of this resource in the economy, and whether or not you can consume it or not is
so
entirely
if they
up
want
to
a money sink, I'm like, why don't they money sink like?
And you couldn't buy them.
Why don't they money sink during an event, not during like during a real event, not during a special like Christmas event? You know what I mean? It's the time of giving, ArenaNet. It's the time of giving.
Because it's a limited time opportunity, and you make a lot more off of that. I think that they should have possibly added hooks where you could buy materials somehow, though. I think it would have been smart to add like a mystery crate type item to the gem store that could, like, had the chance of giving you some of the glue and stuffing items.
Sort of like how they did in the Halloween one, where you got like the bags and stuff. Or like, what do you mean? Like an actual vendor?
I don't know about that.
Well, you want a place to buy the like actual glue and stuffing. That would have pissed me off more, because then it's like really monetizing everything. Come on, that takes away from the Christmas spirit even more. So then you have to pay real money for the glue and the cotton. No, you have to pay real money for the glue and the cotton, and then you put it into the Mystic Forge and have a chance to fail.
Give me a way to grind it. If you're not going to give me a way to grind it, I'd rather that than not have any opportunity to get it at all.
Well, you do have the
I'd rather you just have a place to get it, like not.
You do have the opportunity though. You can buy it.
Buy it off the auction house, which is already a fixed amount in the economy period, because every single person is limited to how many they could get a day, and it's not based off of mob spawning because they don't drop this stuff. It's based off of doing that event. The Toypocalypse event, right?
Right. So I'm saying they should have, instead of making it so you buy more for more money, for real life money, they should have made it so that they increase the chance of you getting it versus it being very difficult to get. Because it's not fucking up. It's account bound. It's account bound. It's not like you can go and sell it once you get it. You're not fucking up the economy.
Tristan's saying he wants things, he wants better opportunities for it, not the 15 missed chances, like 1 or 2.
Right.
And you're saying, well, like, well, I wanted more items because I wanted to be able to get this thing, but you wouldn't have needed more stuff if it would have been a higher drop rate.
Right.
Correct, but from the game standpoint, there's a reason why they put in certain limitations on things.
No, yeah, well, duh, it's a money sink.
Like, I want things. I want to get stuff.
No, but it's a money sink. But what I'm saying is that this is a fun time event, and so those fun time items should be able to, everyone should be able to get them. I don't see a problem with that. Like, Blizzard never stopped you from getting every single item from a Christmas event that you wanted, because it was Christmas. And that's the point.
Yeah, they were good about Christmas.
You think that's why Blizzard did that?
I know that's why Blizzard did that. You shouldn't punish your people for, especially for holiday events. No one should feel like, fuck, I just spent 20 gold on nothing during a holiday event. Now, taking 4 of those potions and then putting it in the Black Lion, the Mystic Forge, sorry, and trying to combine it to get something you can sell, that I understand having a strange drop rate. That's fine by me. And I lost some money on that. But that's fine because you're trying to make money off that. Now, the other items you can't make money off of, so why not just give them to people? Or not just give them, but with the resources you have.
Make them attainable.
Yes. Because as they were, it was so random that it was not attainable. I got mine in 2 tries, and then one of them it took 28 tries.
And what I'm saying, and what I meant by allowing us to have the mats is that, like, I wanted to somehow be able to try this, and I would have contributed a certain amount of whatever, time, energy, grinding things, even if I could have paid something where I didn't feel like I'd be getting completely shafted, because paying for gold just doesn't really make sense. right now, I think, a lot in terms of the economy, like trading gems for gold. And if you don't already have the gold in order to buy the materials, then it's like, as soon as you run out of that resource, what are you going to do?
Well, yeah. Well, so the only way you could do it right now is to buy gems and then convert it to gold. But I still disagree on the idea of them selling those mats for money, because it's the same idea as converting gems for gold, and it's the same idea of, it still goes against the idea of people should be able to get these via a higher drop rate or some sort of in-game thing that engages you. You know, some sort of an event like. Some of those mini games could have dropped some of those items.
I completely agree with that. Or you should have gotten a care package when you got the title.
Or that.
I also think
with, like,
a lot
some
of
of them
it
or
is probably,
something.
I think they're still trying to figure out how they're doing a lot of stuff, you know, because they did the that island event, and that was cool, but then some of the stuff was not so cool, and then
like
they
the
had
whole
Halloween
island.
event and like like the whole island. Like, is there anything there right now still?
No, nobody goes
Like,
there.
you could go. Yeah, cool. They opened a new island.
Noticed.
It was lost for a reason. There's nothing there.
It's lost again. How'd that happen?
It's lost again. And I'm sure they'll do something with that eventually. So I think because the game is still fairly new, they're kind of trying things out.
No, and in terms of like
Fractals
progression,
good. I like Fractals.
in
Fractals
terms
is
of
good,
the
yes.
progression from event number 1 to event Wintersday, 20 times more fun, 20 times, if not 50% more fun, or 100% more fun. You know what I mean? Like, it was really
the
much better.
was kind of weird, though.
What?
The snowman achievement.
I thought it was fun. You just click on the snow and make a
Wasn't it
snowman.
just like phasing?
Yeah, you just
Wasn't
went
it
from.
just like phasing a bunch of times? But like, why? That's not.
That's what they did with the pumpkins, and people liked it. So I guess people.
I
I
like
was
the
gonna say
pumpkins
they-
better because you actually like discovered them elsewhere.
No, but you can find piles
Where
of
were
snow
the
elsewhere.
snowmen?
In
Oh, okay.
Lion's
I
Arch,
didn't find any.
and
I
I
just
think
knew
it's some of the
about
You know
newbie
what?
zones.
Most people, most people. That's kind of how the pumpkins were spread out. But most people just hung out in Lion's Arch, switched,
Overflows.
whatever. They would transition from overflow to overflow and
Yeah.
just keep doing it. So they probably figured, what the hell, why not?
Yeah,
Which is kind
Right,
of dumb.
which is-
I would still put it everywhere.
I thought it was cute. I thought it was cute.
I thought it
I'm
was
not
cute.
saying
I
it
just, in
wasn't.
terms of achievement and what they had you do, it was like 50 of them, and there's 3 if you were like phasing between stuff. Then it would have been cute if it was actually like run around and discover them more.
Yes,
I don't know,
I think
maybe
that they should definitely try to pull people out of.
Lion's Arch.
Yes, and I think that they're trying to do that with the patch stuff that they said they're working on, with the January, February, March stuff that they have planned. We don't know anything about it, but we have heard that they're going to basically be reinventing, I guess, a reason to go out into the world, which I think is the most important thing, because I leveled 2 characters to 80, and I still haven't seen all of the world, and I would love to go back to some of these places, but right now there's really no benefit for me going exploring the world, so I don't. Because some of the zones are really beautiful, and it would be great to have a reason to go to those zones. So it would be interesting to see how they do that. So that's definitely interesting. That definitely pushes on the patch jumper idea still, where you're, still waiting for something cool to come out to make it work. But that Karka event did put something good in the world, and that's Fractals. Fractals definitely gives the grinding dungeon person something to do, and with good rewards. So you get tokens where you can spend those on ascended items, which are in between exotics and legendaries. You get random dailies. So there's a daily for even numbers on 1 through 10, or levels 10 through 20, or 20 through 30. So every even number is a daily, and you could do 1 a day. And those have a chance of actually dropping an ascended
How'd you
item.
figure that out?
Guyawin told me he was going to be on this podcast today. Shout out to Guyawin. What's up, my homie? Pour a little juice out for you, or not, because that's my keyboard. Anyway, not really that ghetto. Is that really a ghetto thing? Pouring your juice out? No,
I
because
don't know what
that's
you're
like
talking about.
a little baby
we-
ghetto kid. Because like they would be like, "Yo, I got a juice box." Psh.
I don't.
You remember
know
those
what you're talking
Ecto Slimer
Wow.
juice boxes, by the way? Do you remember those? They were like,
Yes.
oh, they were
No.
amazing.
The. Mhm.
Yeah, they were like they had a little straw and they were a box and they had like the Slimer from Ghostbusters on them and it was green juice. Tasted
The
like
little high
ass.
C ones or whatever.
Yeah, it was
Oh my
disgusting.
god.
But imagine a little kid being like, "Yo, I gotta pour some out of this for my homie."
What is wrong with you?
I don't know. Just thought it was funny.
Okay.
It was hilarious.
So okay, so you've got
What are we talking
fractals.
about again?
Let's go into the fractals and let's talk about the inner workings of fractals. What is it that makes fractals so cool? It's the idea that it's fast. It's the idea that it is a group oriented. And the idea that you get all these really cool items, and you can also the person who's running the fractal or is in the fractal can whoa. What happened? But there's what the fuck, really? It's the true meaning of a podcast now. Only no video.
Oh. Great.
One of the things that I really like about Fractals is, from a game mechanic standpoint, even though some of them are a little bit annoying, I think that the gameplay involved and the mechanics that they have are really cool. And
Unless
that
they're
they're well, yeah, unless they're bugged. Well, you can say that about anything. And that also might be fueled by the fact that I just finished my story thing last night and I'm hating everything about that dungeon.
She's talking about Ara, for all of you that are curious. Ara, that ArenaNet posted some girl's like blog about her run in Ara and how amazing it was, and
They paid her.
yeah, because it's like the worst dungeon in the entire game. I'm sorry, it's the worst story mode dungeon in the game. Not because it's hard, but because it's stupid.
It's a horrible experience. It's just bad. There's nothing fun about it, and it doesn't even feel rewarding. It just
But
feels exhausting.
that's you can go to podcast like number 13 for that one. So go ahead and go there and check out all of us bitching.
Right now.
Anyway,
Right
But
now.
Fractals, on the other hand, has not that, and instead it has like the good part of dungeons and difficult dungeons and strategy, and where when you finish, like, you actually feel good about it because you accomplished something, and it's the time that you're investing isn't just doing the same thing and running into a wall over and over again, unless it's bugs. And I think that that was really cool. And their system of having different levels, where when you complete a circuit, you advance a level and you get better loot, and it's harder, was really cool and well thought out also on their part.
yeah, it definitely is. It definitely is it's a grindy dungeon, but it takes skill, and each person has to hold their own weight, which is great. So much so where you can actually two-man certain things or one-man it if you're good enough. So that's definitely fun. And the agony thing that they introduced, I didn't quite understand it, but now I do. It took me 2 days of internet research to understand infused items, agony, and ascended items, and how to make back pieces. I still don't quite understand it. It's still confusing because it uses the trading post, but yeah, I don't know. It works and it's cool, so I guess that's all that matters.
Awesome.
And I lost
I
both
also-
of your videos.
Good job.
Fuck it, let's just keep talking.
Oh,
Okay.
great.
So also speaking of, in terms of mechanics, it actually, now that I'm thinking of it, reminds me more about WoW heroic dungeons, where each one actually had a strategy, where the one downside is that you need to kind of go with someone who's done it before and knows what to do, but once you kind of either figure it out or have someone teach you sort of what's going on, actually executing on that strategy also is a really cool cooperative experience. Because you can't just have people running around in circles, because you're not going to finish it.
Yeah, I can see that.
And it makes it feel a little bit more, it makes the content feel fresher.
I do have one qualm with dungeons, Fractals included, and that is Magic Find. I have a big problem with Magic Find. I know Katie has a big problem with Magic Find. I'm gonna let Katie go
And
into
he has
why.
a big problem with Magic Find, except he is also like a huge champion of like, I'm gonna put Magic Find on everything and keep running dungeons with it.
Well, because it's a broken stat, so why shouldn't I use it?
Okay, so my issue with Magic Find is the fact that it is an entirely selfish stat. Basically, when it's most useful is in a dungeon, and in a dungeon setting, you're supposed to hold your weight in some way, shape, or form. And you're essentially trading off useful, let me kill stuff faster or stay alive or whatever stats for let me get better stuff stats. And so what you're basically kind of screws everyone else over so that you can get loot. And it makes it such that the rest of the group has to carry more.
And I think that sucks.
If you have standpoint,
if you have like 5 people, 5 members all using Magic Find, sure, they're all getting more loot, but it takes you 2 hours to finish a fractal. And then if you have a group of 5 that all has all their power and crit and all that other shit, then it takes you an hour to do it. So it's like, why are you punishing the people that finish it more efficiently than the people that are fucking each other over?
It's not even that. I mean, if you want to go with an entire group that is all in Magic Find gear, that's fine. That's their choice. They're readjusting their priorities. It's the fact that if you show up in a dungeon with Magic Find and no one else is prioritizing like that, you're deciding for the rest of them that you're going to slow them down so that you get
Well,
better
no,
stuff.
but you're never gonna know what they're wearing. So with what I said, I
it
wasn't.
doesn't matter.
I'm
What I'm
saying
saying is
that
that-
like you could have 5 random people and all those people are running Magic Find, and so shit, now our dungeon took 2 hours. Why? Are we bad? What happened? But they're all like, wow, I'm getting good shit. You know what I mean? But like, you do a group that actually wants to play and actually wants to beat the dungeon, and they don't get all the really cool drops. It punishes the people for playing well. It punishes people for playing well.
Right. I mean, which is why I have a bigger issue with the concept of one person deciding to run all Magic Find, running with all Magic Find gear, and the rest of the group having to take longer in executing because that person isn't pulling the kind of efficiency that they could and should be.
Right, but if the stat exists, then why would you not run it? Is the question. What benefit do you get from not running it?
If you play with a bunch of really, really horrible people who have crappy gear, then you can't run something. Yeah, exactly. And I understand having it as an incremental stat, where, hey, guess what? You have like a set bonus type stat, and still have it be on food and consumable items or buffs or whatever. But taking it off of having it replace primary stats on items because it's a really, really greedy, selfish mechanism.
Right, and I'm not blaming any player for using it at all. It's in the game,
understand that
and
too.
they should totally use it because it works.
Right.
The problem is that ArenaNet needs to address it. They need to either rip it out and put it to consumables or things that don't affect your armor and your weapon stats and stuff like that, or they need to make it so that Magic Find doesn't exist, but the more efficient you are in a dungeon, the better shit drops.
Or it buffs everybody in the group.
Maybe what they could do, and you know what, but this seems silly because I'm like, why don't you just get a whole group of people with Magic Find on and then everybody's fine, but then that would still bring down the productivity of the whole group overall, so not as useful. I think
I understand
right. Sorry.
Also, as a stat for like a guild-wide buff type stat, I think that's cool too. Like, as a concept, I don't have a problem with it. I have a problem with the fact that it's replacing a function stat, and that it doesn't just affect that player. Like, if you want to go and run around, and also, I wasn't harping on the people who are deciding to use Magic Find. I was harping on the fact that there exists the ability to run with a stat that ends up being entirely selfish in terms of functioning, and you don't know whether or not someone is or isn't. And so it's the fact that it exists.
Well,
yeah, that's the thing. Like, you can't check what people are wearing, so you don't know what they're doing. So they can kind of do whatever they want.
even then, you can switch
Right?
armor in the
agree
middle of
that-
a run. You know what I mean? Like, there's nothing stopping you. So I
Right.
mean, it's
Yeah.
it-
No, but
it's a
from an
stat that
individual
needs to be
standpoint-
looked at. It has to be looked at. It's literally one of those stats that it can make or break a group to a point of, you know, if 2 or 3 people are running Magic Find, and those 2 or 3 people suck, and then the other 2 people suck, you're gonna be screwed.
Yeah, okay. But so even if those people are good and that gear is still going to affect how the run goes, if you've got like gear, like that's like saying, okay, so like in WoW, like I am gonna have a healer that's got like all fucking like enhancement gear instead of, you know, like resto gear. So that doesn't help the group at all. That's pretty detrimental. So it's kind of the same thing. Maybe they just need to add it as like an extra stat, like a little extra.
I think
you know,
it
like,
should be
this
a
is not-
bonus.
Yes.
It can be on consumables. It should be a guild-wide buff, or make it like a party-wide aura thing.
The only weird thing I have
But-
with it is that if it's a stat that is on everything
Party
as an
aura.
extra, then why would you even need it? Because then everyone's gonna have it.
Well, I mean, you could get items that have more of it, I guess. Maybe they could do, instead of on all items, they could do, like, trinkets or rings or something, you know, whatever.
Well,
just
why
like
do
an
you need
extra.
it anyway?
No, if it was an extra stat, if there was an extra stat.
Yeah.
I get it for like solo play. Solo play, it totally fine if you want to go and take longer to kill stuff. But you know, have a better chance of having stuff drop. Magic Find as is, replacing a stat on an item, totally fine. It just, once you get into a dungeon scenario where you're supposed to be cooperating with people, which is where you really see the benefit of it.
Oh yeah. And you do see the benefit. Don't get me wrong. I didn't believe
it's
it until I
scary.
put the Magic Find on, and then all of a sudden I was like, "Wah!" Shit just dropped everywhere.
Then he became a monster.
So,
Yep. Then I became a monster. I even put it on my weapons.
So maybe people just need to be more understanding
Don't
of that.
invite him to
Hey,
dungeons.
so I want to do like a Magic Find group. How about everybody does that, and we'll go and, you know, farm an instance that's not obnoxious if you don't have the right kind of gear.
That's asking for a lot, though.
It is.
For expecting
and
a lot
that's-
of people.
It's true, but you know,
Yeah, that would be nice.
Well, they've got but the game has the feeling of, the game has been promoted as run with everybody or anybody, and it doesn't matter. It always has been promoted that way.
And one of the things that they do a great job of is leveling the playing field, in terms of making stuff approachable for any level and, you know, SPVP and et cetera, et cetera. And that's one of the reasons why I find it so interesting that this got in, because it's so counter to sort of everything else that ArenaNet has stood for in terms of not gating gameplay, and enhancing sort of, you know, the individuals and fairness in that regard, with, you know, not being able to kill steal, not having nodes be player specific for when you're mining stuff or farming whatever materials, and this is like this weird sort of anomaly to that, and I've been trying to also figure out over the last couple days what is the benefit in terms of what were they thinking when they decided to put this stat in the game? Why was it a good idea? And I'm not really sure.
Because Diablo 3
Besides
had
the
it.
solo play aspect.
Oh. I thought it was because Diablo 3 had it. Okay. What? Maybe one of the guys was like a super Diablo 3 fan. He was like, man, Diablo 3's got Magic Find. We need Magic Find.
I
Right,
think
but
it's
you
a
should
good
also have
idea.
they
They
have this, but this is why it's awesome for us. I want to know what this is why it's awesome for us.
Why do you think it's a
They
good
just need
idea?
More work on it.
Yeah, I think it needs to be looked at.
What
That's what I'm trying to say here. ArenaNet, if you're listening,
Thanks
which
for
you're
welcome.
probably not, because this is I saw a great meme the other day of what podcasts are. It's people yelling at computer monitors where no one is going to listen. But if they do listen and they do happen to hear this, it'd be cool if you looked at it. Do whatever you want with it. It's your game. But
Or
I'm just
just
saying.
explain to us what the mentality behind it was. So maybe that's the like game designer in me.
More loots? More loots,
but
probably. I'm going to go with that.
I think it's cool in the sense that there's a way to sort of increase your chance of getting better stuff, and knowing that you have a chance of getting better stuff in dungeons, and the fact that you have control over it is just...
It shouldn't affect your damage.
It's not so cool that it like detrimentally affects the people you're running with.
That's a pretty high way of saying that one. But so the good things of Fractals are definitely the fact that like this PvE is on par with feeling super epic. When you're fighting a boss, they're hard. They have the agony they can throw on you. You're down sometimes, and like the rest of your team is up, and like you just have to like quickly swap over to a mob and like try to down it so quick so you can get out of your rally and rally out of your state of downed, and fucking shit's exploding around you and you're like dodging everything. It feels really epic.
There's
feel like
epic battles.
yeah, they're definitely epic battles. I feel like though that doesn't translate into every class. There are certain classes that it translates into more. Specifically, it translates better into ranged classes. The melee classes are definitely not having as much fun.
But you know what? That's been kind of across the board with how this game has been. Like, from the first instance you went into, like, if you don't have a ranged weapon as a melee, you suck. Like, what are you doing? So... Yeah.
But it's also interesting because I feel like there's certain fractals where there's really an obvious benefit to having a certain type of class there, which seems to be against their concept. Yeah, mesmers. Which seems to be counterintuitive to the fact that they took out the whole trinity of, tank, healer, DPS.
People wanted to think that their class was important, so they implemented features that made it so that people felt important. Different types of classes have different benefits and different fractals.
And I think that's awesome, and I think that was something that I really liked about sort of the BC era of WoW, and when they tried to normalize everything, it was really frustrating.
It's because it doesn't cause a problem if you don't have that person there. You just have to work a little harder. But if you do have that person there, it'll help you out. So it's not taking away from you. Well, if you have a shitty group and you're trying to get from the swamp and you just can't do it,
you end up with a shitty group.
This is what happens. But if you I've been in this. Okay, we're talking specifically about the swamp because you have a portal. No. Let me explain this. Let me explain this.
There's also people who don't know how to do it because they've always had a mesmer to help them with it.
Well, exactly. But however, I have been in groups where I don't even use my portal. I haven't even used my portal in the swamp. I've run it myself and been fine. So people that are bitching, it's a benefit that you get if you have that class with you. And I think it's cool because it makes that person feel good. Like there's different classes that have specific spells that give you addition. So I like that, and I don't think they should change that. That was cool. And people needed that. It was too, any class can come, so it doesn't matter. Now it helps. It doesn't change the fact.
Given fractals are random though.
Well, that's what makes it cool. Is because it's random, so you don't have to make a group based on X, Y, or Z because you don't know if you're going to get that one. So you have no way to tell if you're going to get it. So run it with whatever you want, and if you happen to have that person with you, bonus.
I don't think it's seen as a bonus though. I think it's seen as a takeaway.
No, because people are fucking spoiled. And they're like, I can't do this without a mesmer, or I can't do this without a guardian's shield bubble, or I can't do this without that. Well, fuck you. Learn how to do it the real way.
Yeah, but you're always going to have people that cry. That's why, encounters get nerfed. That's why WoW would always have, the stuff that came in for, the hardcore people, and then, 2 months later, they'd have to nerf everything so everybody else could do it.
But that's what Fractals is. Fractals is for the hardcore, because the beginning people, they literally, circumvented... They circumvented the WoW having to nerf it. That's what they did. They circumvented it. They said, we're going to start out easy, and then we're going to get harder. In the higher level fractals, people know their roles. They know how to get the dungeons done. So if there's someone there that can help them, they are excited about it, but they're not going, we can't do this without it. So that's been my
Right.
that's what I've seen.
No,
Take on it.
I agree. And you made a very good point about the fact that, like, it is an enhancement thing, and there are ways to do the content still that doesn't require those people. It's just that for certain instances, there's a significant benefit to it, and what it ends up doing also is that people don't know how to do it without it.
Well,
Because you're kind of
That's their problem, though.
Yeah,
That's
no,
not
I agree with
ArenaNet's
that.
problem or
I
the
agree
game's
with that.
problem. That's
I
players'
agree with that.
problems.
I agree with that.
Spoiled little baby players.
Also, in terms of things that are awesome for Fractals, that I was going to say, and I don't need to be above level 5 to realize this, is that it's really, really awesome that they ended up finding a way to get so much more out of the same content by scaling up and having a tier like that. Not only do you have different loot, like, because you get better stuff, but also enabling people to replay the same content and having it not just be the same thing. Like, it can get stale, but I think the rate at which it might get stale is very different because they introduce different, and more challenging mechanics as you play through something.
Well, Fractals definitely makes you better at your class. As you progress through Fractals, you get better at playing your class, which is so cool because it finally teaches people how to play their class. And what's funny is that after you go from like Fractal level 10 to like Fractal level 2, you literally you're basically like reading a book while fucking playing. You're like, this is so easy now. So it's really cool to have that feeling.
Feel good.
Yeah, you feel accomplished.
It makes you feel accomplished, which was a big issue, I think, in what we were talking about.
Yeah.
Right, in terms of why am I doing this? What am I doing it for? And it doesn't necessarily have to be. I think some of the content that we thought it might have had to be, where it's so we can down this big thing or have this and show off
like the raids
X, Y, or Z. But just like ascribing value to the time that you invest in the game, and value that you can keep getting back, keep experiencing going forward. And it was really, really awesome that they ended up introducing something that does that, and it gives players also the chance to figure out how to use their class. And I think that WoW raids kind of did that because you had to figure out the utility of like what your purpose was, in a very, very different environment. But I don't know, I really like it. I like that there's the focus on really involved mechanics with the bosses too.
Well, specifically too, you get these really fun encounters with pugs where you're no longer like the Guild Wars 2 LFG.com came out, where you can basically get an instant group to whatever dungeon you want to do or fractal level, and you'll get these pugs, and usually in other games pugs meant, oh god, this is gonna suck. Fractals, because of its tiering system, has kind of defeated that in the terms of, if you're at a certain level, you're guaranteed to be running with a certain level of player, and if they're not, you'll know immediately, and you can leave the group. So it really is nice, and it definitely, I don't know, it's just nice to finally see people understanding their own player and their class and being able to have, like, you know what I mean?
Well, it gives a sense of identity. It gives a sense of personalization. It gives a sense of positive investment.
Well, it's fun to play with randoms. It's fun to play with random people.
And the other thing about involved mechanics that's really awesome is the feeling of cooperation and also the conversation it facilitates. Where in most cases you have to interact with the people that you're playing with, and that's actually nice.
So you've got Fractals, which engages you, helps you learn your class better, brings you together with people that you might not have known through pugs, has a pretty good experience with pugs, tiers out the system so that you've got your good players, your bad players, your new players, and it scales properly. It gives you a good amount of loot. It's definitely something that pulls you into the game and makes you want to play more. And through that, you can make legendaries, you can make exotics, you can make all sorts of cool stuff like deck out your character, which is the point of Guild Wars 2. However, Guild
You get
Wars
a good amount of
2
money too.
is still lacking the one thing. It's like this super addictive game that you want to log into every day, but there's no addiction. There's nothing other than going into a Fractals run or maybe a dungeon, and you're working towards this goal of getting this weapon or getting this new ring or getting this new upgrade. But what do you do after you get that? Do you just keep going up to Fractals 5 bajillion to see how badass you really are? I mean,
Well, presumably they're going to add more things, right? Like, that's not the only thing that they're going to do. That's why they have all the content.
but you've still got one very
That's where
secluded
raiding
dungeon.
came in on WoW, though.
You still got one very
Yeah.
secluded dungeon that's located in the heart of Lion's Arch, which is not making you explore the world, and it is grindy. It's fun, but it's grindy.
Again,
So eventually it's going to get aged.
But just like in WoW, they started out and they only had, what, like Skolo was like a 10-man or something, and then I don't remember what it was.
I
then
just
they
don't
added
like the,
BRD
I don't know, I
or
just don't like the idea of like,
I can remember.
I don't like the idea of relating it to WoW and being like, well, when WoW first started, because Guild Wars
No,
1
but my
was
point
like a
is-
big game, and they already went through a lot
I
of
didn't
this.
play that.
But they had just as
So-
many years as WoW had of gaming and expansions and stuff like that. So they should understand this.
Well, maybe they're trying something different, but I think, and I think that's really what it is, that they're trying to find what works and what keeps people engaged. Maybe they didn't want it to be like WoW, so they're trying to find something that works for people, that still keeps them engaged, that isn't, you know, you have to raid all the time and you have to put all this time into it, but we still want it to be something that brings you back. Now, what is that?
Right, and now if they
So-
took some of the features that they had in Guild Wars 1, like guild halls and stuff like that, where, for instance, the guild could work together to build the influence. Like right now, we're just stockpiling influence for our guild, altabme.com. We're just stockpiling influence recruiting. And it's not doing anything, and so it doesn't. Nobody really cares. They're like, whatever. We have influence. Now, what if
Well,
our
yeah,
guild
yeah.
hall was implemented, right? What if we had a guild hall implemented, and it looked like something like the Order of the Whispers instance dungeon, and the more influence you got, the more banners you could get, the more NPCs you get, the more blah 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 blah. So it'd be really cool, and everybody could work together to build this fucking cool guild hall, and I think that would help to bring people back. You know, especially that feel of community. You log in, you don't go to Lion's Arch.
His housing.
I do love my housing, but you don't log into Lion's Arch and run around with, blah blah blah. You log in, you go to your guild hall, and boom, there's all your guildies like chilling. Be like, what's up, man? Nothing. Turn into the little doll. Are you my mommy? And then have a whole RP session. It'd be sweet.
Well, and I think that would be cool, especially if that, gave you something else that you could use in the game, or it was like a starting point for anything. Like, what is the point of having the guilds right now, right? Like, I mean, is there something cool about it? And then, like, here's like some banners every now and again. That's neat.
I feel like you'd have to be able to have people witness it, though, because checking out a guild hall,
Yeah.
like, why is that cool? And you wouldn't necessarily know, like, oh, this guild is a badass guild hall because X, Y, or Z, unless you're already in the guild.
Yeah, I think it would have to be
Where it's
something
like,
that
oh, you can
people
look at pretty
walk
stuff, but I'm
into.
going to go do functional things.
Right.
Maybe
Well,
if they
and
had
I think-
a banker next to a trading post guy, if you... that would...
No, but yes, you get vendors and you get things that are functional in your guild hall. That's what I'm talking about. You upgrade to get these things.
But I don't know if it's a hangout.
Well,
I don't think it's gonna be.
Because
I
it's
think
nice
that's
to go to
wishful
Lion's Arch
thinking.
and see what other people have.
yeah, but you could always go to your guild hall and see who's on and check out who's in there. It would be a place you check out.
Or you could open the guild tab and you could see who's on. Because how often are people gonna hang out in the guild hall?
I would hang out in the guild hall.
I know you would
Tristan wants his
because
housing.
you like to RP, and that's cool.
They would have ping
And I
pong. I
think,
don't like to
um,
RP. What are you talking about? I don't RP.
Sure, okay.
What?
Hey
Only
guys,
as little
let's go
dolls.
let's go have the guild
Only
meeting
as
at this
dolls.
really cool area with the really big tables, and it's gonna be awesome, and that's what we need to do.
Because it
This
looked
doesn't make
cool.
RP at all.
That's not RPing. That's having a guild meeting in Mumble in a cool place. If it was RPing, I'd be like, I put my wizard robe and hat on and I fucked you all in the guild meeting. Like, what? I mean, like, what? I'd be a terrible RPer because everything would
Anyway.
turn into sex.
Okay. my point is that I really don't think anybody would hang out in the guild hall unless you're having like a meeting, or they wanted the vendors or something. But I think if you have cool stuff and like you open it up, it's not like a separate instance that only guild members can get into. I think that would be nice because people can go in and be like, hey, this guild has all the cool things, and if I want to get something really easily, I can go to this spot. So that might be good.
I agree with
or
you.
if
I always
had,
think
like,
that those
sort
should
of,
be shareable.
Or, yeah, and I don't know how they could make that work. Like I said, I didn't play Guild Wars 1, so I don't know how any of that was awesome and why they don't have it now. Yeah, but I still think they're trying to figure out what works for them that is not like WoW, and it's not that intense, but it's still fun.
I think that, and in going back to what you had said before in terms of them having certain aspects of the game where they were trying to stay away from things that games like WoW did, where it's like the competition, you have to play every day, the not so friendly to casual people, and I think that they did a fantastic job on a lot of fronts of doing that, and now they just need to take it back and say, like, okay, what actually was important? What do we actually still need? And what can we take back and add that's not going to negatively affect, gameplay? Because I think that there is reason for certain elements of those, and or find different ways to embody the same concepts. For instance, for guilds, even just having the prestige of you were in guild X, Y, or Z that, did blank. And I don't think there really is any sort of did blank titles that a guild can claim right now.
Yeah.
Like, there's nothing that as a guild you can achieve.
Our guild had a world
titles
first
kinda...
of getting underneath the Divinity's reach, the hole, the crater. We found a way in. I'm just saying. We had the world first on that.
Okay. I also really had the world first Quaggan invasion.
Yes, that too.
I think the titles are not done as well as they could be, by the way. So I think if they had a way to make them more prominent, that would be cool. Also, I think something that I enjoyed was the story mode. So I think if they had maybe different types of story encounters where you could do it with like a group and it wasn't necessarily just like this is your personal story, that might be fun and something that could bring people together. Because I think the personal story tended to be like by the time you got to level 80, so many people had done their own and helped other people with theirs, and then they had alts and stuff, and it was kind of like, oh my god, this sucks. So I still haven't even finished mine for that reason, because you need people to help you, and everybody's like, I really don't want to do this again. But I think if they had more story stuff, it would be cool.
Well, it's sad that it's content that you don't want to do again. I got pretty fatigued on my story, just because there was so much running around, and it kind of felt like the exact same thing over and over, and with the various decision points where you didn't really know what you were choosing between.
That was the other thing. Like, I was concerned what to pick. I'm like, what do I want to do? So
yeah.
Sorry.
And maybe even if you got some better stuff, like once I realized that it would give me sort of level specific things, it's almost like when you're leveling up, there's a reason to do it. But I don't think most people finish their stories. I mean, I don't think you can finish your stories until you're definitely well into 80. And at that point,
you can with
there's
groups,
a big break.
So, yeah. I mean, they made it so you have to bring other people with you, but like I didn't know that. So like like I waited until I got to 80. I'm like, oh, I'll just do my story later. So then when I got to 80, I'm like, wow, this would have been kind of cool to get stuff while I was leveling.
Right.
Yes.
But, I mean, I still think that more story stuff would be cool. Like I like lore. I like all those things. So when I go to a zone and it's like, here is a cool thing about this zone, I think they could expand on that and make it like more of maybe an in-depth event, maybe like 'cause they have the zone events that happen on occasion, and that I think is really cool. I really enjoy those. So if they could build on that, I think it would help.
Well, basically,
okay. I'm not as big into the story stuff. Like, I really appreciate it. I can really get into it. But in terms of sitting and watching the sort of little cutscene back and forth. Sometimes I'm just like, don't have the patience for it. Like, I want to know what's going on in it and appreciate it.
Yeah.
But I don't really have the patience to watch them speak it out slowly in like the 2-panel or like face-to-face interface. But enriching the story in terms of, I love some of the event story that they have. The ones that are like long loops where you're kind of living out something is pretty cool. And if they had some story stuff that wasn't just undead past level like 60, because I think everything is risen.
Well, they had to get that in story-wise and lore-wise. They had to get that out of the way. That was literally the first step to getting them out of the picture for good.
So many levels.
That's essentially what everybody's come up with on that. I think they've even commented on that a little bit, where they were like, we know that the undead is overdone, but this was the story and the way to progress it, and that was the only way. So anyway, so that was our attempt at trying to talk about the good things about Guild Wars 2 and why it makes us happy. I think it's like, you've got like the good things, and then you've got like these things that just stick you hard. So like you get off on tangents whenever you play a game like this, when you play Guild Wars 2 or when you talk about it, because there's so much that you want to be working in this game because it is so beautiful and there are so many good elements to it, and so many good elements to the point where you don't want to play another MMO. Like, you don't want to log into your old MMO. You don't want to try that old style, way of questing or skills or whatever. But there's just not that driving force of, and we've said it over and over again, is there's just not that driving force that pulls you in. Luckily, I've been lucky enough to have fractals and finding different ways to like invigorate myself through personal weapons and building my armor and my sets and having multiple sets and magic find, even though we think it's a busted thing, and then slowly building up stuff like that. But I would like, hopefully, I'm hoping that in the future all of the efforts that I've been doing to getting this stuff will benefit me in some way, so that I can do new content, or I can I don't know, get an achievement or something that I can hang on my wall, or I don't know, whatever. There's something that that you can do, something tangible that makes you want to be in this game.
Yeah, I was just gonna say that one of the reasons why I think that we have so much that we would change is because there's so much that's done so well and right, I think, and the direction that they took things is so positive that it becomes much easier to notice the little pieces of it that aren't quite there yet. And if it was just bad, it just would be bad and we wouldn't have that much to say. But the fact that we have very specific targeted feedback of this one thing would make stuff better, and I think that unfortunately that's what people end up talking a lot about, because it's just a lot easier to see what's not quite there yet rather than be like, these are all the awesome things, because a lot of that just goes unnoticed because your brain doesn't get stuck on that. You're just happy during that period.
Because of the way the patches are coming out and the promises of new content, there isn't much to talk about. There isn't too much new to talk about in the game because we don't know that much. They haven't given us that much information yet. So hopefully in the future we will have more. We will know more. Anyway, if you are suffering from Guild Wars 2 syndrome, an affliction where you think that you're not happy with your current guild, but in all reality, or you're not happy with the game and the way it doesn't allow you to really get close to people, we have a way to tackle this issue. Go to alltabme.com and sign up today to be part of the community. We have a giant community website. It is used for Guild Wars 2, PlanetSide 2, Minecraft, SimCity in the future. What other games? I think we play Borderlands 2. We play whatever game you could think of. What? What game? Oh, LOL. Yeah, definitely LOL. Yeah, League of Legends. All those games, we play them all. It's a place to hang out. You can rant. You can get achievements. You can just have a good time. It is definitely a place where you can be yourself and not feel too judged. And if you so choose, you can then apply to our guild and join us in Guild Wars 2. And we have tried to make it so that we have events and we run in-game types of stuff for us to do, so that the game doesn't get boring and that you always have somewhere to call home. And when the game does get boring, go play the other game with other people from the guild or from the community, and hopefully that will fulfill all your needs. These podcasts, just so you know, this has been All Tab Me podcast number 23, and we were talking about podcast 2013. The idea behind this is that we are going to be releasing podcasts when we feel it is awesome. We don't want to be stuck there doing a podcast when there's really nothing to talk about. So you can check out our YouTube channel at altabme.com, and you can see all the... we update videos of our guild runs. We just did a guild run with an event of Fractals. We did a run through where we have commentary and it explains the guild for you. We did a Quag and World v World event. We just released a recruitment video. All sorts of really cool stuff. There's always updates. There's always videos to see. So check it out in the downtime between podcasts. And subscribe to us on YouTube to get the podcast alerts every time we release one. Because we're not really on a tight schedule now. We are mostly waiting for content to come out and then we can talk about it. Or maybe we're going to talk about another game like SimCity when that comes out. We'll talk about that because it's awesome. But we definitely will always...
excited about it.
I'm very excited about SimCity. It's ridiculous. I already purchased it.
cool.
Oh my god, it's so exciting. Anyway, I was talking to the developer on Twitter today too because
When does it come out?
Oh my god, March 5th. I'm so excited. Anyway, yes. So we will always talk about Guild Wars 2. We will always have our community there, but we just want you to know that if you like other stuff and you want to, you can come over and play with us. Anything else I'm missing, you guys?
Go to the website. Watch all the things. Do all the fun stuff. Done.
Yeah.
And this has been alltabme.com, podcast number 23. See you guys next time. Nobody's going to wait.